What's up, boxing fam? This is Caden from the Boxing Bros. I'm here to discuss the breaking news that Deontay Wilder only made $10 million to fight Dominic Breazeale. Let's consider first where the news was broken. It was broken by The Mirror, which is a British media source. Uh, by all accounts, the source is known to be reliable in the UK. And so uh, you have to consider it may be true, given the fact that this source is known to be reliable throughout the UK. With that being said, it would take more confirmation for me to consider this to be actually legit. However, the fact that the Mirror broke this story makes it newsworthy, and because it's newsworthy, I'll dive in with my thoughts on this matter. First, I'll start off by saying people are bashing Deontay Wilder, clowning Deontay Wilder. I, for one, think Anthony Joshua would beat Deontay Wilder. I would love to see the fight because I would love to see all the Wilder fans get shut up. And I do believe that they will shut up when the fight does happen. However, I would like to point out that I do believe this is strategic on Deontay Wilder's part. Remember, he was originally offered 15 million. He was offered 15 million. He accepted the terms, but he never signed the contract. Of course, he didn't sign the contract because if he did sign the contract, the fight would have been signed, sealed, delivered, and it would have been on. So he agreed to the terms, but he never signed the contract, and that was 15 million. Then he was offered a piece of the pot. I believe it was about 65-35 split. Deontay Wilder rejected that, went on to fight Tyson Fury, had a draw with Tyson Fury, a controversial draw with Tyson Fury. It it was controversial because Tyson Fury outboxed Deontay Wilder every second that he was on his feet, but Deontay Wilder dropped him two times and was able to eke out a decision. So the world caught on to it. A majority of the people felt like it was a robbery, which enticed people to want to see that fight again. The rematch didn't happen. However, what the rematch did was it boosted Deontay Wilder's profile to the point where DAZN made Deontay Wilder a three-fight deal for 120 million, which could have ended up being 140 million with incentives. The first fight would have been to fight Dominic Breazeale for 20 million, which makes this breaking news very important because he was offered a three-fight deal for 120 million. First fight would have been to fight Dominic Breazeale for 20 million with DAZN. Now, if he rejects that offer and he fights Dominic Breazeale for 10 million with Showtime, Al Heyman, and PBC, that's him making half the money he could have made to fight with DAZN. So one has asked himself, why would a person do this? Now, some people would immediately rush to say it's because he's scared of Anthony Joshua. I believe he is somewhat worried about a fight with Anthony Joshua, mainly because when he spoke about Dominic Breazeale, he said, I want to catch a body. Don't bring your wife and kids to the fight. He knew he would massacre Dominic Breazeale. However, whenever you mention Anthony Joshua's name, he says, we take risk in the ring. We got family. People have wives. People have kids. You got to be fully compensated. So he's worried about Anthony Joshua. I wouldn't necessarily say that he's scared, but I do believe that he knows when he walks in the ring with Anthony Joshua, he's not going to walk out the same guy. So he does want some compensation for that fight. With that being said, I do believe he took the fight with Dominic Breazeale because he knew Dominic Breazeale was an easy touch. And he was willing to compromise that 20 million and only take 10 million because he felt like he could boost his profile with a win over Breazeale. And let's be real, that's what he did. He knocked Breazeale out in 2 minutes and 17 seconds. Listen, that knockout has gone viral. The world has seen that knockout. There are memes of that knockout. Don't be fooled by the viewership for that fight. Social media has tweeted, retweeted, posted, shared that fight millions of times. Deontay Wilder did his job and he boosted his profile. With that being said, it's time for me to say this to the Wilder fans, to the Wildettes of the world who run around screaming all this mess. The time to gamble is over. The gamble is over. Part of being a good gambler is knowing when to cash out. This is the time to cash out. Wilder will never be as big as he is right now. And the time will never be better than it is right now. Wilder got his guy out the way. Forget how AJ looks against Andy Ruiz. Whether he looks good, whether he looks sloppy, make the fight next. And here's the reason why. Wilder's coming off a vicious KO of Dominic Breazeale that's been retweeted millions of times. Okay? Millions of times. He's boosted his profile to a level where people are like, yo, we want to see this guy in there with Joshua. And we can do it. And they can make him the offer. And it's going to be a bigger offer than the 120, 140 million. But Wilder and Wilder fans, if he doesn't take this fight, he runs a huge risk. He has to fight Tyson Fury again. Listen, Tyson Fury's not a standstill punching bag. He's a guy with good movement. He's a guy who has head movement. He's a guy who can move around the ring. And he's a guy who can counterpunch. He made Deontay Wilder look silly for 12 rounds. And even after Wilder knocked him down, Fury got back up and started making him looking silly again. So remember that. That's not an easy fight. And that's not a gimme. If he doesn't fight Deontay Wilder, is he going to fight Dillian Whyte? The guy who's KO'd Derek Chisora, Lucas Brown, and Joseph Parker in his last 3 fights, that's the guy you want to play with? At that point, that's high risk, low reward, especially if you're talking about fighting him for $10 million, $15 million, even $20 million is not enough to fight Dillian Whyte and the risk that you're taking if you don't fight Anthony Joshua next. With that being said, you have to remember this, Deontay Wilder fans. You said Eddie Hearn and his team are slave masters and they're the ones having this slave talk. But Deontay Wilder's the fighter getting paid slave wages. The Zone offered him twice the amount to fight Dominic Breazeale. Now, I get it. He was taking a gamble. But look at the wages Deontay Wilder's fighting for. He fought Tyson Fury for $4 million. He just fought Dominic Breazeale for $10 million, assuming that this source is correct, but by all accounts, this is a reliable source from the UK. So if he did fight Dominic Breazeale for $10 million, that's low risk, high reward. But to fight Dillian Whyte for even double that amount, that's high risk, low reward. Because if you beat him, you're not becoming the undisputed champion. But here's a man who gave Anthony Joshua, the man with 3 recognized belts, 4 belts in total, the fight of his life. That's high risk, low reward. You get his name on your resume, you get no belt, but you get a tough fight. Probably a fight as tough as the Joshua fight. Why would you do that? Same with Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury, you get to call yourself the lineal heavyweight champion. Who cares about that? Who cares? Oh, you won't be on Tyson Fury's suit that had all the lineal heavyweight champions on it. You heard about that? Would you rather that or 140 million? For real. So you have to cash out right now. If you're a Wilder fan, this is the time for him to cash out. And here's why it's the time for him to cash out. The easy fights are done. The Uber drivers, done. The Lyft drivers, done. The gym teacher, done. Those fights are done. It's time for him to start taking on real opponents. And with real opponents comes real risk. We've seen this tug of war before. Remember, Mayweather, Pacquiao. They were both jockeying for position. Mayweather felt he deserved the lion's share. Pacquiao felt like he deserved the lion's share. The media and everyone was riding Pacquiao, right? Disrespecting Floyd, making Pacquiao the best pound for pound over Floyd. Everyone putting their chips on Pacquiao until what? He fought Marquez. And Marquez knocked him out with one punch. And when that happened, that changed the whole dynamic of negotiations. And in the end, Floyd ended up taking the lion's share and Floyd ended up winning the fight. But forget the fight for a second. We're not even debating who's going to win the fight. We're just talking about negotiations and money here. Keep in mind, okay, anyone who gambles will tell you this, when you're gambling, the key is knowing when to cash out. And I'm telling you, Wilder fans and Deontay Wilder himself, if somehow this video gets to him, it's time for you to cash out. You run the risk of gambling One time too many. Okay? And if you get knocked out, if you lose a fight, it is over, brother. You survived the draw. You survived the draw due to the controversy. You survived the draw. But my man, it is time to cash out and fight Anthony Joshua. There's no reason it can't happen. You just knocked Breazeale out. Wilder fights on June 1st. You both will be free. It can happen next. You don't want to run the risk of taking another gamble in between and then losing. Now, I've heard Deontay Wilder say, oh, taking a loss. It shouldn't be the end of someone's career. And it's not the end of someone's career if you take a loss. But it is when you gamble fight by fight. You only sign a contract fight per fight. Then a loss is the end of your career. But a loss isn't the end of your career if you sign a 3-fight deal that guarantees you $120 million. You would have made $20 million for taking out Breazeale. You would have made $50 million for fighting Joshua. Win, lose, or draw, you have another fight for $50 million. But I'm not mad at you right now for taking the $10 million, and I'm not mad at the Wilder fans for Wilder taking the $10 million, because this was another gamble that paid off. And the reason why it paid off is Wilder knocked him out in impressive fashion. I believe that boosts the amount of money he's going to be offered. I believe that boosts the split. But at this point in time, it's not about gambling anymore. I think Wilder went from $15 million offer to whatever he'd be offered next. And I'm sure it'll be more than $140 million. And now you cash out. Now you have the fight. Sign a 3-fight deal. Don't give me this loyalty stuff. Listen, let me tell you something, Wilder. There are a lot of guys in jail behind this loyalty stuff. Oh, I'm loyal to my crew. I'm loyal to my team. And when they locked up, the crew don't write them. Nobody comes to see them. Nobody's putting money on their books. Let's reverse the roles and say Wilder got knocked out. Let's say Wilder got knocked out in 2 minutes, 17 seconds. Do you think PBC is going to stick with Wilder? You think they're going to put the same investment behind him? You think they're going to put the same promotion behind him? You think they're going to support him and say, oh, this is loyalty. We know he got molly-whopped in 2 minutes and 17 seconds in the first round, but we can still sell this Joshua thing. No, they wouldn't. Wilder, don't be a fool. Now, I know this quote has been debunked, but this was a quote that used to be associated with Harriet Tubman, but researchers have said that she actually never said this quote and people couldn't tie this quote to her, but it applies here. Allegedly, which, like I said, researchers have said it doesn't apply to Harriet Tubman, but she supposedly said, I freed 1,000 slaves and I could have freed 1,000 more if only they knew they were slaves. Right? Deontay Wilder, you're a slave. Deontay Wilder fans, you're sitting here talking about slave wages and coming at Eddie Hearn. You can't even realize Deontay Wilder's the one fighting for the low ball wages. Deontay Wilder's the one fighting for the least amount of money. Tyson Fury has a deal. Anthony Joshua has a deal. They both make more money than him. He's the only one with no guarantees. He's the only one living on a fight-by-fight basis that if he loses, it's all over for him. Fury has guaranteed money. Joshua has guaranteed money. Deontay Wilder is living on a prayer, living on the edge. Come on now. What is he really? He's loyal to a company that isn't loyal to him. Okay? And that's just like them people on the block screaming all that stuff until things go bad and they're in the joint. And then where the people you thought was loyal to you, where the people you thought was riding to you. See, Wilder's not going to learn until he ends up like one of those former Don King fighters on the wrong side of a fight. And then he looks and he sees Al Heyman's team standing by the guy who just beat him, waving an American flag, screaming only in America. That's when he's going to realize he's been played. That's when he's going to realize loyalty. They sold you on that, but they weren't really loyal to you. Why waste that time? Why find that out the hard way? Guaranteed money is guaranteed money. So with that being said, I'm not even going to knock Wilder for this. I think Wilder boosted his profile with this fight. Even if he only made $10 million, he's not locked into a contract. This fight has been viewed viral millions of times, reposted, retweeted. He did this in impressive fashion. Big ups to him. But it's time to cash out. It's time to cash out. No more gambling, bro. You can't afford that at this particular point in time. Your easy touches are over. It's time to make that money. It's time to lock into a guaranteed deal. And if the zone's offering you that deal, you take that deal. If PBC, Showtime, and Al Heyman are going to try to make you fight for peanuts again, you have to start asking yourself, who's really the slave? Anthony Joshua got a great deal. Tyson Fury got a great deal. You still fighting on a fight by fight basis. Wilder fans, your man's still fighting on a fight by fight basis. All it takes is one punch to end any chance of this man being undisputed and accumulating generational wealth for his family. Yet you're praising this man, Al Heyman, and his team. Come on now. Let's be real about this. I'm not even mad that he made 10 million. I'll be mad if he doesn't sign the Anthony Joshua fight next. Now, I gotta head off to the gym. I know my boy G from the Boxing Bros, he's gonna have something to say about this. I know Trill's gonna have something to say about this. But since this is a hot take, I felt like I should just say a little something about it and put it out there. So Boxing fam, thank you for showing love to the Boxing Bros. Click the like button, subscribe. I'm out. Boxing Bros USA.